We are now just 144 days away from the official release of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker by writer and director J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio, as well as George Lucas. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that by far, one of the most interesting aspects of The Rise of Skywalker is exactly how J.J. is going to utilize the interactions between both Rey and Kylo Ren, as well as Palpatine, and how he's going to be utilized in this movie, as well as the return of lightsaber duels, space battles, and land battles that are going to be taken in a totally different direction for this film, which is said to really excite fans and really be done in such a unique way that we would have never expected it in a Star Wars movie. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and when it all comes down to one of the concept art descriptions, this is where things begin to get very exciting for Episode 9. Now, specifically, what's really intriguing about all of this is that a description of Rey engaging in a lightsaber duel with Darth Sidious, where it's said that as Rey battles Palpatine, is that she is being manipulated by Sidious in an attempt to turn her to the dark side of the Force. It's described that at one point, Rey temporarily teams up with Palpatine and faces Kylo Ren, where she begins to hear the voice of Anakin's Force Ghost that whispers her lines of dialogue of a passage from the first Skywalker, written over 1,000 years ago. It's said that Anakin delivers the passage of the first Skywalker to Rey, able to break her free from her temporary alliance with Palpatine to test Kylo and Rey's limits. It's said that since Rey failed to stay with the dark side, that Palpatine has no interest in her as a potential host body, and that now he has all eyes on Kylo Ren. It's described that Anakin's Force Ghost was the one responsible for saving Rey from the darkness, where she was being lured in by Sidious during the battle. Lastly, it's explained that when Kylo also fights Sidious, there are moments in which he hears the whispers of Anakin's voice, while Kylo wields the Skywalker saber for a scene against Palpatine, where Kylo is also using his crossguard in the other hand, and Anakin's saber against Sidious. So let's go over a couple of parts about this and as to why this seems like a very intriguing moment in the third act of Episode 9. So here we have a sequence that is said to be at the very end of this movie where we have Rey actually being manipulated by, of course, Sidious himself, where she has a temporary alliance with Palpatine to go up against Kylo Ren. Now, this is the ultimate puppet master here. Palpatine is literally turning Rey to the dark side temporarily in order to test Rey's limits against Kylo Ren to really see if Kylo is worthy or if Rey is worthy of a potential host body. And this is all said to be done by Palpatine himself. Now, what I like about this is that this is essentially Palpatine testing his limits, where he's got to choose between both Rey or Kylo Ren, since they are both very powerful through the ways of the Force, and not to mention that they are young. So, with that being said, you can only imagine what Palpatine was doing here, and this is the moment in which Anakin's Force Ghost voice is said to whisper Rey the passage of the first Skywalker. So, the first Skywalker is going to have somewhat of a role in this film, and Anakin delivers a passage of the first Skywalker, indicating that this is in the form of some kind of Jedi code that was written by the first Skywalker over 1,000 years ago. So you can really see how Disney, Lucasfilm, JJ and crew, they're really trying to implement a lot of Jedi, Sith, and Force lore as much as possible. The other thing that really does give us a direct callback to that of Attack of the Clones is where we have a moment in which Kylo Ren is using two lightsabers against Palpatine, where he's using the crossguard and the iconic blue Skywalker saber against Palpatine's red crimson saber, whatever have you, going up against Kylo Ren. We saw a very similar experience here in Attack of the Clones, where Anakin was using two sabers against Count Dooku on Geonosis, and now we have the same exact thing happening here, basically, between Kylo and Palpatine. So once again, like I say, JJ is paying great attention to, of course, all the potential parallels to the originals and to the prequels and how it's all going to play out in The Rise of Skywalker. Now, what do I think about this? I will say that This is a very interesting piece because this really does bring us back to Star Wars Legends in the Dark Empire comic line. You know, Palpatine did do something very similar to this where he had a great interest in Leia and Luke, and that's when he actually turned Luke to the dark side and even threatened Luke of taking over his own body. So the fact that Palpatine has an interest in both Rey and Kylo Ren as taking over their bodies, that's his way of testing on which one he wants to ultimately take over. Yes, he has been watching over Kylo Ren since he was a baby, that we do know. But aside from all of this, he also has eyes on Rey. In fact, what we went over a couple of weeks ago is that Palpatine reveals to Rey that he has been watching over her for a very long time and watching and paying very much close attention to her as she was growing up and as the light was rising and meeting the darkness. So anyways guys, drop a comment below, let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.